Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Virgo for June 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to check out what's new on my blog. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what's going on in June? We've got the heavy hitters converge as the theme for this month, and I'll get into more details about that later. We've got Mars going direct. So let's first talk about some things specific for Virgo. And then we'll go into these three events that are relevant for everyone. Okay, so there's this energy that's starting to brew in the 10th house. So early degree placements will feel this energy first. And again, early degree placements are the ones that have August born Virgos, or up to like September 2nd. And the middle degree placements are from around the 3rd through the 12th of September. And then the late degree placements are the ones from 9/13 around till the end of the sign. If you're watching for your rising sign, 0 degree through 9 degree placements, you would be early degree. Middle would be 10 through 19, and late would be 20 to 29 degrees. There is a difference often in how energy is presenting for you each month, depending on which part of the division, which division of Virgo placement you are. So if you imagine like you're waiting online for something, let's say you're waiting online to order lunch, then if you're one of the people right at the beginning of the line, you're getting your lunch first. And the other people have the energy of lunch around them, but they haven't gotten their lunch yet. It's going to take a little bit longer because they're at a different point in the line. And that's what it's like for these 0 through 29 degrees or 30 degrees of the Virgo placements. You will often feel things earlier for the ones that have the earlier degree placements. So the chart of the early degree placement and the chart of the late degree placement can often look very different, especially if we're talking about a long-term transit, but even for the short-term transits. So early degree placements will start to feel focus in the 10th house. This is coming for the rest of you, but early and some middle degree placements will have this career recognition focus. The 10th house rules your place out in the world. So whatever you're doing out in the world, whether it's your job, your life purpose, maybe sometimes they're the same, maybe they're not, you and what you're doing out of the home, out unless you work from home, of course, but it's like your place in the world, you know? So lots of energy brewing there. Mercury, Venus, the sun will be accentuating that 10th house. The new moon for early and some middle degree placements will be in the 10th house. So often this comes with extra acknowledgement for you doing a good job. If you've been working on something, something could come through for you. And that's true from the short-term transit perspective, and also later on when we talk about this convergence of heavy hitters and these outer planets, there's also energy around that for long term. So this story of recognition, this story of advancement, this story of raises and lateral job movements that you like better, or promotions, or getting known for something, or getting, anything like that. This can also be focus on your relationship with your father or a father figure or authority. Whenever Venus goes through a house, Venus always reminds me of my grandmother Marge, who unfortunately is now passed, but she is my Italian grandmother who, if you've never had contact with someone, a person from Italy, or an Italian American who, and maybe this goes on in Italy, I haven't been there. But in any case, my Italian relatives are always so excited to see you. And my grandma Marge was like this. So Venus is like this energy. So it's like she would come, and she was always shorter than me, even when I was a child. Maybe she was like 4'9" or something, so I would often even tower above her as a teenager. So in any case, she comes and grabs my face, right, and kisses me on the mouth. So love, right? She gives me love. Venus rules love. She might slip $5 into my hand. She gives me money. She would give me a meatball. Italian relatives are really great at this. She'd take care of my needs. Do you need anything? This is what Venus brings. So wherever it is, it's like having my grandma Marge in that field of experience for you. And for the early and some middle degree placements, you're going to be having this in your house of work, but also your house of authority figures, so you can be acknowledged by someone higher up. You might smooth out relationships that were difficult with a father figure or an authority figure or the government or whatever figure you're having difficulty with. The rest of the middle and later degree placements are, and even the early degree placements, because Mercury will linger there a little bit, are going to have focus on the 9th house. So those of you who don't have the new moon energy or feel stuff going on in your work sector, you might have this strong energy in your 9th house. And really, to some degree, all Virgo placements have a focus on the 9th house. So the 9th house brings new horizons, new ways of looking at things, new perspectives. You know, if you change how you see something, the circumstance can actually change in an instant. It's very, very amazing. So like an insight that you have into something that suddenly changes a problem that you have or something that you're working on by looking at it from a different perspective. So this also rules international relations. So anything having to do with different countries, different languages, different cultures. This is also the house of religion. So anything related to churches or spiritual things. This is the house of writing, publishing, speaking, sharing information, teaching, and learning. So all teaching institutions, learning projects, anything like that, courses of study, are going to be strongly accentuated for many Virgos. So you might find you are open to or excited about learning or voraciously learning about something and really wanting that. Or teaching. You know, the teaching and the learning are the same in the chart. So this is the energy that is going to be pronounced for the rest of the middle and the late degree placements. There's especially crossroads energy for if your birthday is September 4th through September 6th, or if you've got Virgo planets at 14 degrees through 16 degrees, this month of June is a major crossroads. If you're after September 6th, like the days after September 6th, or the degrees after 16, you're coming next for this major crossroads. But it's a longer term story, so you might have been feeling it too. All Virgos are really having this crossroads energy because Jupiter is in your sign, and that's telling of just major expansion. But those of you in that group of those dates and those degrees, you're having Virgo cross over either your sun or your ascendant. And when that happens, it's like, wow, new life on so many levels, new 12-year cycle, new relationships or new levels of relationships, new definition of self. You know, again, like I said, you've heard me talking about this as a theme for all Virgos, but this June is the time where if you have those birthdays or degrees where this is really strongly coming in for you. And it's especially true because, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about the general transits affecting everyone, Jupiter in a trine with Pluto will be happening either on your sun or your ascendant if your birthday is September 4th, 5th, 6th, something, you know, around there, or you have 14 through 16 degrees or 17 degrees. It's a really big time. So the heavy hitters of the universe are not only one of them crossing over your ascendant or sun, the other one is making a trine to this aspect. So this is really, really good. And usually this would be very favorable. You know, sometimes it comes with some points of conflict because in order to open up to something else, you have to release other things. And that can be a little bit difficult, but big crossroads energy. So the full moon, the new moon that I was talking about, the earlier middle, some of you middle degree placements will have that in the 10th house. That's your work house, and then the rest of you will have that in the 9th house. That's the teaching, learning, religion, different cultures, studies, etc. That's happening on June 4th. And on June 4th, it'll be at 14 degrees of Gemini. So on new moons, you have this great chance to make your new moon wishes. And you can check out my video called Making Wishes Come True. If you search on my channel, Annie Botticelli, Making Wishes Come True, it talks about using power periods and other things to make your wishes come true. So on the new moon, you get wishes and you want to make sure you maximize those. So that's at 14 degrees of Gemini. The full moon is going to happen at 29 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's on June 20th. This is going to happen for early, middle, and most late degree Virgos, except for you very late degree placements. This is going to happen in the 4th house. So full moons bring fullness, completion, fruition, sometimes drama, sometimes happy tears. There's a fullness coming. There's something ending. There's something completing. It's the end of a cycle. And this happens in the 4th house, which has to do with home. So this could be something culminating involving a home, like housing related issue, a house related issue. It could be like a real estate related issue or just your home or a project at home. Or it could relate to something having to do with your family. There could be something completing with your family. Maybe someone graduating, that's an ending that can be bittersweet. So it's a happy and a sad thing at the same time. Something involving a family member could come up. For you very, very late degree placements, so like 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign, or like around the 19th through the end of the sign. And this isn't exact, it could be, off by a day or so, because there's no real strong line of delineation when we're talking about energetic potentials. But you late degree placements, you might have this happen in your 3rd house. And even some sooner than what these dates and degrees that I gave you, just the general late degree energy, this fullness could come in your 3rd house. And the 3rd house has to do with your cars. Some people may have something come up with their car, or it has something to do with your devices or communication or a sibling or a relative that's not your parents or kids. So fullness, completion, fruition, ending, drama, complication, or something culminating that you've been working on, which could be a positive thing, in that 3rd house. That could happen. So now I want to talk about the several things that are going on that are not specific to Virgo, but are very, very, very important. We've got a square with 2 outer planets. We've got a trine with 2 outer planets that I referred to earlier, and we have Mars going direct, finally. I call the theme of the month of June, the heavy hitters converge, because outer planets, when they're locked together in a meaningful geometric combination, are like the heavy hitters. Whenever we have an aspect of an outer planet, meaning the ones that take longer to go around, like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, or if you're looking at asteroids, Chiron, etc., these planets take a long time to get around. So when they make an aspect, especially to another outer planet that takes a long time to move around their orbits, their influences last for a longer period of time than the ones with the personal planets, unless of course there's a personal planet being retrograde, that's different. But as far as an actual aspect occurring within personal planets, you might feel those effects for a couple of days. But the story of outer planets getting together, that tells a story over a long period of time. It makes me think of when I was growing up in New York City. When I was a little kid, I was a baseball fanatic. I was quite a tomboy, and me and my little friends would obsess over baseball, and we'd watch it with my dad, and we would just get so excited when the guys who would be the ones that would hit the ball out of the park regularly would come up to bat. They called them the heavy hitters. And you didn't know if this was going to be a time they were going to hit a home run, but the odds were more likely that they were going to hit a home run than anybody else. Everyone was just, waiting with excited anticipation, especially if there are men on base, And that's the energy of June as it relates to the heavy hitters in the cosmos, because we have 2 convergences of heavy hitters. The first one is between Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces. Now, this aspect is a square. A square is known to be a challenging aspect. I don't want you to fear squares, however, because sometimes it's a square that we need, or a point of conflict that we need to crack open something up to another level, It's like it's a point of conflict that from it, you can completely improve your life and your life experience. All transits, especially the challenging ones, show weak spots. So this transit will be no exception. Saturn in Sagittarius and Neptune in Pisces in a square, this happens in the beginning part of this cycle, It was the last days of November 2015 through like December 4th of 2015. So the end of November, beginning of December of 2015 is when this happened first. It happens now for the second time, June 5th through June 18th, with the strongest point being on June 18th, but very strong for that whole time. And you'll feel it before those dates and after. It's a long-term story. And it's a theme that's following from the end of last year into this year. And it reaches this culmination like the end of August 30th through around September 21st of 2016. So over the course of the year, from the end of 2015 through almost the end of 2016, there's been this point of conflict. And so themes that came up at that point very likely will either come up again if they hadn't been resolved, or related themes will come up, or maybe different manifestations. But many, many people are going to have this issue come up in the form of security. And many people will have it in the form of internet security. When Neptune, the energy of Neptune and Pisces is very much behind the scenes. It's private stuff. So things that you want to be private, with Saturn coming and making this square to Neptune, they might not be private anymore. So I always post these horoscopes at least a month and sometimes more early so that you can have a heads up for what's coming, so that you can take action. So one of the places that I recommend that you take action here is around this square, and it's around security. So I think it's a wonderful idea for you to change your passwords, to add whatever steps you can to beef up the security, to have a professional do a security check even, or research ways that, if you don't have the money to do that, research ways to beef up your internet security. Be careful of the things you post on Facebook and social media. Just have a new level of awareness of apps and how people are gathering information about you and your what you're doing on the internet, things like that. This could also be home security or work security or anything having to do with things that you want to be private that might not be completely secured. So you want to try to go through between the time you listen to this and then, and strengthen as many of these weak links as possible. That's a really good use of the energy. There are also likely to be a lot of conflicts or things that come up regarding fear and faith. And so here are some questions to ask that can lead you down a good path with using this energy in the best way. One is, and this is kind of along the lines of what I was talking about with security, but where are you putting your trust? And is that well placed? And that can be having nothing to do with internet security. It could be in relationships. It could be with, who knows, whatever. Ask the question, where are you placing your trust? And maybe it's not the best place to place it. Where could you place more trust and you're not? There's also a very major spiritual component to this, because trusting in the benevolent source and clearing up any issues you have with your connection to the divine could be what's coming up here for many people. So maybe you're placing your trust in things that are changeable and movable in the third dimensional reality, and we all know that those things are change and or always changing, but the connection with the divine is something that isn't changing. So spiritual revolution could occur from this transit for many. Where are your boundaries? Are they secure? Should they be more secure in certain places? And should they be less secure in certain places? Sometimes we're putting up walls in places where we really want something to come in, So this square can bring up all of those things. If you want more love to come into your life, if you want more money to come into your life, figuring out where you're putting up blocks to receiving those things is going to be relevant for many people. Of course, I always love suggesting inner work, because sometimes this boundary setting thing is not in our conscious control. It's very much in our unconscious program. And the only way that you can really get at those unconscious programs is by working on the unconscious level. One of the books that I talk about all the time that works very well for helping you to set healthy boundaries in places where you need them and take some extra walls away in places where you're trying to bring more in is a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. It's masterful for that. So you can look to see where your boundaries need to be bolstered and where you need to be a little bit more lax in certain places, things like that. It's like the showdown between reality and illusion, and form and formlessness. So all the many ways that those conflicts can come up, this story has been brought up at the end of last year for special focus, and the story is getting stronger now, and it will reach its culmination at the end of August into September. So the next major convergence of heavy hitters we have, and this one I'm all smiles about, even though I'm going to make lemonade out of the challenging one and tell you how you can make the most of it, when there's a really great aspect like a trine, like this second convergence, which is between Jupiter in Virgo and Pluto in Capricorn, I'm going to be really excited about that. So Jupiter in Virgo is very much about everything Virgo, expanding everything Virgo. And Virgo has to do with your health, your diet, your regimen, yoga, meditation, medical diagnostics. Many people have had major enigmatic health stories, and they're trying to, like a super detective, get to the bottom of what is happening with their health. And Pluto is the best ally in this because Pluto goes deep into research. Pluto rules research. And Pluto in Capricorn is very practical. So having this trine, which is strongest between June 23rd and June 30th. And again, there's a story with this. It started in mid-October 2015. It happened the second time mid-March 2016. And now it reaches its culmination with this aspect at the end of June. So many people who have been on a wild health journey, you might have some massively good news, or at least massively enlightening news that can then put you in the direction for better health. Many people are going to see movement forward in the arena of health or diet or anything like that. If you are a person who has MS, autoimmune, any other kind of autoimmune things, inflammatory based problems, colitis, anything involving inflammation, problems with your skin, anything that just seems like whatever you're doing to it, you're not hitting it at all. There's a couple of resources I'm going to recommend for your journey. One is a book called Medical Medium. Medical Medium is a Hay House book, and I'll put it in the link below this video. And it is very interesting. It's very different, and maybe some of you won't resonate with it, but many more people are going to have a lot of answers come here. But he's basically talking about how many of the things that are plagues for our time, from the health perspective, are actually based in virus. And I know that research that I've seen about cancer, they're finding more and more cancers are linked to viruses. So this isn't really very surprising, or metaphysical for that matter, even though the person who brings it is a medium, between worlds. The information is very much based in science from what I've been researching myself. So there could be a viral component to the things that you think are not virally based, and by treating it, you could all of a sudden heal from something that you're not supposed to heal from. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm offering a resource that could change your life. So check out Medical Medium, Hay House. And another idea is to get some genetic testing. If you've had a lot of problems, you could narrow down your specific issues by having some genetic testing. A basic genetic test that will give you a lot of information and is not as expensive as some of the other ones is called 23andMe. It's the number 23andMe. And this will let you know if you have certain parts of your liver function that don't work, which would create all these other problems. If you have certain liver pathway problems, etc., or other things that could be relevant to your health. There's someone else that I'm going to recommend, his name, and I'll put all of these links underneath this video, and is a man, his name is Gino, and he is a friend of mine who is very gifted with understanding how science and physiology work, and he has helped many people heal from things that were considered terminal. So if you look up genospassion.com I think it's .com, or I'll put the link below here. Maybe Gino can assist you with your particular situation. And he likes to work along with your doctor to see your blood tests and things like that. So many people are going to have good news or breakthroughs along those fronts, and maybe some of these resources will be part of that. What's very exciting about this transit is that it's reaching its culmination at this point. You know, the previous transit we talked about, we're kind of still in the middle of that story, but this one is reaching this conclusion, and it's such a wonderful aspect. So other things that could come up here are things involving pets or animals, since Virgo rules those areas. Also involving your quality of work experience or daily experience. Virgo rules what you do every day, what your experience is like every day. So when you have Jupiter in Virgo, it's working on trying to make improvements in your day-to-day schedule. So if you look at your life and you say, oh God, I need to work less, Jupiter in Virgo can help you with that. If you're like, oh gosh, I don't have a job, I need to work more, Jupiter can help you with that. Whatever your subjective experience of improvement of your daily schedule is, Jupiter is working really hard to help you with that. And as of the time it went direct in May, those things started lighting up again. And now when it reaches this culmination of this, activation with Pluto in Capricorn at the end of June, you could see some major improvements in your work-life balance, whatever you've got going on in your daily schedule. So that's really exciting. Also, many people will experience this trine with Jupiter and Pluto as bringing them advancements on the fronts of work, career, and life purpose. Because Pluto being in Capricorn rules work, career, and life purpose. So Jupiter being in a great angle there can help to accentuate, unblock, free, synergize, bring great juju to your work and career and life purpose areas of life. So that's another way that you might see this trine story reach a culmination at the end of June. Third piece that is very relevant is that on June 29th, Mars is going direct. If you've been listening to my reports for a while, I've been talking about Mars in its pre-shadow retrograde, in its retrograde, and now on June 29th, Mars finally goes direct. It has a pretty long shadow period on the back end. It will be in the post-shadow period until August 21st. But with every day that marches on past June 29th, you're getting more and more clear of it. So if you've got to launch something, do something new, if you've been waiting, July is your month to do that, and the first little bit of August, because then we're going to get into Mercury shadow again, and it's not going to be the time to launch things. There will be some even better stars for launching in the last 3 weeks of October and all of November and the first couple of days of December. That period of time at the end of the year is actually the most open than any we've had this entire year of 2016, because the other period we had, like February, March, and then this one in July into the beginning of August, those all have some influence of shadow, of retrogrades, of personal planets, even though there's some workable ground. So if you're not quite ready to launch, or something, you really want to have all the personal planets clear, maybe you'll want to lean towards that second window, but you'll just have to feel it out, because I don't know what your personal chart looks like, and sometimes personal chart aspects can supersede what the general stars are, So if you want some help with that, anything as far as perfect astrological timing or navigating through making the most of the transits, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can check out my growing list of blogs there to assist you. You can check out my personal coaching. You can look for my Unleash Your Money Magnet program to help you unleash your money magnet. If you go to anniehelpsyou.com and then click on programs, you'll see Unleash Your Money Magnet. You'll see my Creating Successful Online Business course that will be enrolling in July. You'll see my Astrology Apprenticeship program, which will be enrolling in July. And you'll see my Shine program, which is a 28-day virtual coaching program, which helps you to make the most of the starry potentials by clearing out your inner blocks. And While you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get all kinds of cool opportunities and information that come along with being in that group. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.